Have you ever given unsolicited advice telling somebody what you think they should do? Have you ever used some sort of punishment or reward to try and change someone's behavior? If that's the case, this episode may be for you. Welcome to Be a Better Person, and today's topic is you can only change yourself. So I think a big part of the world, and I don't think that's just something that's new. I think probably throughout all of history, we've had people who judge and who give their opinions and think that they have all the answers. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. Again, another big issue that I've struggled with because I couldn't understand for much of my life, why don't people think like me? It's common sense. It's pretty simple. You should think this way. Well, again, it's part of my societal programming that got me to think that my way of thinking is right. And guess what? Just because you think you're right doesn't mean you are. However, people have all kinds of different beliefs and things that they think and make judgments on people because of the way they act or react or do certain things a certain way. And you can, if someone asks for your opinion, give advice and say, this is how I do things. But if they didn't ask you, probably it's best if you don't give your advice to them without them asking. And secondly, no matter what you do, whether you tell them, well, you should think this way, or I believe this, or, and I don't care how many facts that you have, people are going to believe what they want to believe. And so all of your work and effort trying to change people, trying to get them to think the way that you think, trying to get them to believe the way that you believe, isn't going to work unless they want to change. So just another example or thing to think about is I've been a part of a couple of interventions for people who have issues with substances, and I've had them before myself. But again, no matter what I've done with that person, whether they went to rehab, the time we've had the interventions, they are only going to change if they want to change. It's not because I say certain words. It's not because I threaten with this or that. They'll change only if they want to change. Same with me. The reason why I've gotten rid of some of my bad habits, or at least reduced them, is because I made a decision to change. Not because somebody said something else, because I decided. Because you can try and lay guilt on people, you can try and pass judgment, and again, they're not going to change unless they want to. And so you're probably going to hurt relationships more by giving that unsolicited advice, by trying to make people think the way that you do. Again, it's not that if you get into a conversation, you can't explain why you feel the way that you feel. But the biggest thing is, hey, instead of trying to change someone else, why don't we look in the mirror and focus on changing ourselves? Because if we can change ourselves and we can emulate the behaviors that we want other people to emulate or to change, and they see us change, well, that's a bigger show of how to do that than just using words. And so another thing too is we use things when our kids grow up to get them to behave a certain way, whether it's a reward, whether it's a punishment. Now, did we really actually change the way that they thought or their behavior? Maybe not, but we changed how they're going to think about doing that and what the rewards or punishments are going to be if they continue that behavior. Now, they might still think the same way, but they're going to still believe the way that they believed before any of that stuff happened. And so people's beliefs and opinions can come from all kinds of different things, how they grew up, where they grew up, social and economic things throughout their life are going to maybe help build some of these things too, how they were programmed. There's probably people who never listened or watched TV who probably are less programmed than people who grew up watching a lot of TV, because that's where you, as a child, you build those things that you say, oh, well, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to grow up, get married, have kids, get a house, get a good job, be loyal to my job. And never challenge or do that. However, in other places where people maybe had parents who said, no, you're free to do whatever you want. You don't have to do any of that stuff that everybody else thinks is the right way to do things. So we all can have different point of views, and there's a lot of factors that are involved in those point of views and those beliefs and things that we have. Different cultures have completely different beliefs. So again, instead of focusing on trying to change other people, why don't we focus on what we can change deep within ourselves? We can have conversations to let people understand, and maybe we do have some influence over people, because again, we show them how we are trying to change ourselves, and people go, oh wow, look how happy, or look how he relates to other people, and look how many people want to be around him, because there's no negativity, there's no judgment, there's no unsolicited advice. So again, those things are ways that you can show people, maybe I should just change myself instead of making judgments on why somebody thinks the way they do. And we have more empathy when we do things like that, when we really stop to think about, why does somebody think the way, again, the way they were brought up, the situation that they were brought up in, the culture they were brought up in. Those things all can make a difference. And again, we need to just accept people for who they are, no matter what their beliefs are. And again, how we do things is going to reflect better on ourselves. And I think since I've started my process of trying to do a lot more of these things to make myself a better person, I've been less stressed. I've been better relationships with people because I just let things go. Now, let's not get this right. From having all those years of not understanding why people didn't think the way that I think, I still catch myself where I see something and do a judgy thing like I would have done before, and then I stop and I go, wait a second, maybe it has nothing to do with whatever the thing is that I saw. Maybe it's because of metabolism, maybe it's because of the way that they were brought up, maybe it's because they have issues that I don't know about. So instead of just making a judgment about that, try and have understanding. They're just trying to make it through life just like I'm trying to make it through life. They want to be happy. They want to be successful. They want to, I think that they would want to make other people feel good about themselves as well. Maybe some people just are miserable. I don't know. I guess I've known some people who seem to be that way and don't want to be happy. It seems like, though, even some people who I've known like that, once they get older and they learn about their mortality, then they do start changing and rethinking how they think on different things. But again, I've started to focus more about myself, and instead of thinking about things I don't have or why does somebody do this, I think about how I'm grateful for that I have my health, that I have family that love me, and that I can try to make myself better. And I always feel better about myself, not when I judge somebody or when I'm gossiping about, did you see so-and-so and how they did this? I actually feel better when it's to say, hey, that person's awesome. I don't know if you've ever had conversations with them, or I don't know if you've ever seen them work. They're just awesome. They build people up. They do great things. And that always makes me feel better when I can feel like other people's success I get to share in now. And I get to talk up about how great it is. And again, it's not easy. None of these things that I discuss are easy to just, you can flip a switch and suddenly tomorrow I get rid of all those years of the way I felt and the way things were. It takes time. It takes catching yourself and then saying, oh, wait, stop. I'm back. I'm doing one of those things that I did before. I need to stop. Why am I doing that? Am I trying to make myself feel better by tearing down somebody else? Guess what? If you build somebody else up, you'll feel way better about yourself. If you talk positively about people instead of negatively, you'll build yourself back up. And I feel personally better about myself when I compare those two things. When I've started to make sure I always tell people how important they are to me, how I'm proud of them, how I think that they are really good at this, it makes me feel better about myself. And I just want, in the comments, why don't you put if any of your criticism or judging or giving unsolicited advice, has that ever changed anyone? And if you can, give me the example. If you have any things down that you can think of that you've done to try and stop yourself from doing the things that make you talk negatively about people or judge people. Write those in the comments too, because I would love to hear about those, because maybe I can start using some and practice it myself. And do you really think by doing all those things that you're changing others? And maybe tell me if you've done those things by judging or doing negative comments, that you've actually changed somebody, and explain to how you have. Or are you with me and you think that we can only change ourselves, and the better we improve ourselves, the better other people will see what we're doing and try to emulate that? Anyways, so much for this topic. Hope you enjoyed it. Always remember, your smile makes me smile. Be kind, be grateful, and be helpful. And until next time, have a great day.